Welcome, welcome everybody to our Western Apicultural Society of North America's July mini conference, or our monthly webinar series that we do. And this month we are highlighting the National Urban Beekeeping Day founders, Nicole and Timothy from Detroit Hives, and today is actually National Urban Beekeeping Day. So we got them on the prize day of all days. And so I'm super excited to hear from them. And I've known them for at least 2 or 3 years. I mean, and they have a wonderful social media presence and are really doing some amazing work in Michigan and beyond, and really building bridges and collaborations with folks all over the place. So really thrilled to have them here. And they're very creative folks, so I find a lot of inspiration in the work that they do. And we'll start with them. They're actually, since they are in Detroit, they're East Coast time, so we're going to start with them because it's already 9 p.m. their time, and we don't want to make them have to stay up late unnecessarily, because I'm sure they've had a busy day, busy summer. It's how it goes for beekeepers, no matter whether you're out in the boonies or right in, the thick of the city. It's a busy time of year. And then we'll do a little bio break. We'll let them talk for about an hour and have some questions built into that. And then we'll take a little bio break for about 5 minutes, let folks get water, go to the restroom, and then we'll hear from our illustrious president, Etienne Tardif, and also Ron Miksha, who is from Alberta. And they're going to talk about the in-person WASP conference that's taking place in September. And this will be our first one in, 2-3 years? It's been a while because of pandemic and lockdown and all sorts of stuff. So very excited to hear about that upcoming conference. And we hope that folks will be able to join us in person and also online. And just a heads up too, so Dewey Karen and I, Dr. Dewey Karen, he and I tag team these monthly webinar presentations. So we coordinate with different speakers. We take turns doing that. And Dewey, remind me, we are taking August and September off, correct?
Yes, that's correct. In preparation for our meeting. Yes.
Right. So that'll just give us a chance to really focus on the upcoming in-person conference. And then we'll resume again in, was it October or November?
Yeah, we'll either of the two. We'll have a couple still towards the end of the year. Yes.
Yes, that's right. So so thanks everybody for joining us. And I will, actually, I would like to read this bio for my friends here. So Detroit natives, Timothy, Jackson, and Nicole Lindsey are the founders and directors of Detroit Hives, a 501c3 nonprofit organization working to improve underserved communities for people and pollinators. Within 7 years, they have using the art of urban beekeeping to create a social, environmental, and financial impact by transforming blighted vacant lots into educational apiaries and attractive pollinator habitats. Additionally, their Be the Change program has educated hundreds of inner city youth on the importance of pollinator conservation. They are members of multiple organizations. They're members of the Michigan Beekeepers Association, the Southeastern Michigan Beekeepers Association, and also the American Beekeeping Federation. And they've won multiple awards too, and have received substantial funding from some wonderful philanthropy networks. So they have a 2020 EcoWorks Sustainable Community Champion Award, and also in 2020 an Environmental Excellence Award from the National Association of Environmental Professions. So we are very excited to have them here. And I will let you all take it away.
Absolutely. Melanie, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And we'd like to thank you, along with the Western Apicultural Society, for inviting us to speak today. As mentioned, today is National Urban Beekeeping Day, and we'd love to begin to share some of the work that we've been able to do and highlight urban beekeepers since we founded that day back in 2019. As mentioned, my name is Timothy Paul Jackson.
And my name is Nicole Lindsey.
And we're both the founders as well as co-executive directors for Detroit Hives, again, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that works to improve underserved communities for both people and pollinators by transforming vacant lots into educational apiaries and or pollinator habitats. So as a Detroit native, I was born and raised in the city of Detroit, whereby I studied advertising.
Yep, same for me. I was born and raised in the city of Detroit. I attended Oakland University where I have a degree in psychology.
So you heard those introductions. We didn't mention anything about attending school with a background in entomology or any type of background in beekeeping before we formed Detroit Hives. You know, the idea of Detroit Hives first started with, I would say, with the call to action from the city of Detroit. There was a newspaper that went out where they were looking for residents, nonprofit organizations, or block clubs to buy back many of the vacant lots in our city. See, at this time around the summer of 2016, the city of Detroit currently had well over 90,000 vacant lots. And these vacant lots were causing issues around our community, around blight, around crime and violence. And these vacant lots were going as low as $100. So Nicole and I, we figured we can buy a vacant lot, find something to turn it into something positive to really help our neighborhood, but also change the narrative of our city. So we had tons of ideas in place of vacant lots. Ideas ranging from a peacock farm, an outdoor photography studio, an urban campsite, and of course, an urban garden. All of these were great ideas that we had on our vision board, but unfortunately, we didn't act on any of these ideas. As time progressed from the summer going into the winter of 2016, I had this really bad cough and cold that I could not get rid of. I mistakenly came across the power of local raw honey. From there, it got rid of my cough and cold, and Nicole began to see my interest in learning more about local raw honey that led me into learning a little bit more about bees. She made a very simple suggestion. She said, how about we transform a vacant lot into a honeybee farm, opposed to all the other ideas we had written down on our vision board. And at that time, it sounded a little ridiculous to us because we didn't have any background into bees. We didn't know anything about honeybees, but we said, yes, let's do it because this idea was something different. We haven't seen it in our community, and we knew it could make a really good impact. So from there, we formed Detroit Hives again, and we set out a mission to transform a vacant lot into bee farm. Without further ado, we're going to share our presentation with you all and share all the wonderful work that we really are passionate about here in the city of Detroit. Okay. If you can get it, if everyone can see it, just give me a thumbs up. Oops.
I think you're spotlighted. Let's see, maybe Kurt can
Oops, something happened.
Their presentation should still show up even with the spotlight. There
we go.
Okay.
Oh, good. Thanks, Kurt.
Okay. Can everyone see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So in 2016, we formed Detroit Hives, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, whereby our mission is we have a creed where we believe a healthy future for bees reflect a healthy future for humanity. The health of those in our inner city, specifically BIPOC, is often last to be considered. However, it's our mission to change this. Detroit Hives is a 501c3 nonprofit organization working to improve underserved communities, people, and pollinators by transforming vacant lots into educational green spaces. We provide pollinator education and conservation initiatives that engage urban communities in our mission by creating cultural experiences that are both educational and relatable.
Excuse me, we lost your presentation.
Oh,
Sorry,
we don't see it now.
You lost us? What about now?
No, it's not showing screen.
I might have screwed that up. I pinned you all, but that's because I didn't see your screen. I thought that was the screen. Try share screen again, maybe?
Okay, 1 second. I'm not seeing. Okay, advance. What about now?
There we go. Yeah.
Perfect. Let's try that again. And if everyone can see it now, just give me a thumbs up.
Is it your logo?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. Moving on. So let's talk about the city of Detroit. Again, back in 2016, the city of Detroit currently had well over 90,000 vacant lots. And over time, a lot has happened on these vacant lots as far as blight, crime activity, and potential injuries for residents. And this particular, I would say, challenge with our community has lowered the value of our neighborhood. Most people, when they see vacant lots, they see it as an extra expense. They see it as a liability, and they were looking for city residents or city municipalities to take on these properties to address this issue. However, something magical has been happening on these vacant lots. They've been left unattended, and a lot of the native plant species began to bloom on these vacant lots, whereby the city of Detroit has been boosting in native bee populations. There has been many studies, starting with Michigan State University and the University of Michigan, where they've seen where bumblebee populations or native bee populations are much higher in Detroit than in some less urbanized areas. And this is due to vacant lots because there's very little noise pollution and light pollution on a lot of these vacant lots, with the city being bankrupt at some point, and there's not being a lot of walk traffic in some of these areas. It's been serving as urban jungles. So not only have they seen an increase or a spike in native bees, but also in other things like as far as pheasants, fowls, other different types of livestock as well. And even an increase in deers due to the vacant lots.
Yeah, because no one's spraying chemicals and they weren't cutting the grass at the time.
Yeah. So with this being said, we look at Detroit as being the place to be, but there being so many vacant lots, or AKA green space, it's creating a habitat not only for our honeybees, but also our native bees. Speaking of native bees, Michigan is home to over 467 different native bee species. So as we work to support native bees, we're also working to introduce honeybees to hopefully create an ecological balance. In doing so, Detroit Hives exists in over 27 locations here in the city of Detroit. One being pictured is our Forward Resource Engagement Center, whereby pictured you see Nicole adjusting some of the beehives at the Forward Resource Engagement Center, whereby they sponsor 2 of our beehives at this site. So the purpose of the beehives at this site is, again, to support food security, but also, again, it's there to support education and conservation initiatives.
So this is our very first location. This is our Eastbourne Apiary. So this is near and dear to our heart because it was our very first. So as you see, Timothy is going inside of our Nike hive, and I'm going into one of our art hives that was done by a world-renowned artist, Rashad Rucker. We also have a mini murals program where we sit and work with artists around Detroit or around the nation, where they study and learn about bees, and they use that education and use it as inspiration to draw art on our hives. And this is also another way that we engage youth
and the next generation, because a lot of times when you talk about science or talk about bees, some people have their own misconceptions, or it may not be the most interesting topic to some audiences, but we find ways to engage with creatives, the next generation, through art. So by having a Nike beehive, it allows to create some conversation about the design, about the artwork, and the inspiration behind our artwork. And like Nicole mentioned, this picture that you see is our Eastbourne Apiary. There you only see 5 beehives, but now this apiary is home to over 20 beehives at this site. And the reason why is that it works to really support the community around there. There's tons of urban gardens and community orchards around this block, whereby our bees are visiting these areas to help support with food security, not only for people, but also for pollinators as well. Another site that's near and dear to us that we love being able to support the education and conservation of pollinators is Mumford High School. Here we were able to sponsor a beehive at the school. And the reason why it's near and dear to me is because I attended Mumford High School and I'm an alumni there. So to be able to go back to this school, sponsor a beehive, and offer a program that never existed at the school feels really good and really rewarding.
So this is our Airbnb location. This is also in Detroit. What you see picture here is the Boy Scout troops, and they helped build this native bee home there, and also that raised garden bed as well.
Yeah. So one of the biggest decline with native bees and all pollinators alike is deforestation, a lack of habitat. So as Detroit begins to redevelop and we have so much abundance green space, we want to be able to reserve some of the green space to support our native bees and our honeybees. So one great way to support our native bees is by providing local sources of food, but also shelter as well.
Yep, so not all of our sites are sites for just honeybees, it's for our native bees as well, and other pollinators.
So through this work about urban beekeeping, we work to create a social, environmental, and financial impact here in the city of Detroit. So let's talk about the social impact. What we're doing is taking blighted vacant lots, most vacant lots that people are overlooking, that's being passed by, and we're creating activities, events, education opportunities. For instance, what you see pictured is our bee yoga experience that we host every year annually. We work with people in the community to do yoga with pollinators. Too often when you talk about bees in the community, especially within an urban setting, most people they don't really normally engage with bees or insects, but we try to find a way to marry, or I would say cross-pollinate the two, where we create events for both people and pollinators to both thrive and flourish. And here's another photo from our bee yoga where we work with people in the community to come to our pollinator habitat sites where we keep and home or house honeybee hives, where they can learn more about pollinators, they can learn more about native bees and engage with them. And we don't always have to treat, or there's not always that misconception about bees or wasps in our community. We can break those myths and we can educate the next generation as well.
Speaking of the next generation, we love to have our youth come and visit our sites. This is the Detroit
Detroit Academy of Arts and Sciences.
Yes. This is the third grade class. We actually worked with them for about a month. So every week we visited a class and talked about bees. And on the last week, they got a chance to actually visit our site. They went inside the hive with me. So we geared them up in beekeeping suits, and they got an opportunity to see the bees hands-on. And the kids were really excited for this day.
And this is another group we were able to work with back in 2021. It's in partnership with Wayne State University and their Upward Bound program. And through the Upward Bound program, they get to learn about community impact, community programs, particularly the work that we were able to do in the city of Detroit, learn about how bees or honeybees are really working to help revitalize our city through cross-pollination efforts.
So here we have Jack and Jill of America. This is one of their Detroit chapters. They came to actually do some volunteer work and to help learn about what we're doing in the city as well.
So what's great about this project is that it's open for projects and programs all year round. And they were able to come during the winter time to really learn more about pollinators and how they begin to really overwinter, but also how they can help support pollinators during our off season.
This is a volunteer day with Ally Financial. This is an opportunity for them to learn about honeybees and how they store their savings
Or
money with honey. And also educate us about the importance of saving with the financial institution like Ally Financial. So they planted a garden for us, for the bees.
Yeah. So as Ally Financial, they work to secure banks and loans for individuals and businesses. The same thing we did together was secure a food pollinator bank for our pollinators. And that's one great thing, again, is being able to create a space, not only for community residents, not only for universities and organizations, but also corporations where they can give back as well, but also involve their employees to give back as well. And they have a giving back program where we work with them to help secure and maintain our sites as well.
So this is our University Liggett. This is a high school here in Michigan. Their 11th grade class has been volunteering with us for the past since 2018. So every year we get a whole new group of 11th graders in September, and they come out to our sites to help volunteer and clean up and learn about our project that we're doing. We also provide them with education about our bees and our pollinators as well.
Again, we work to create projects all year round. And then most people, when they think about bees, they are really excited about what bees are doing during the spring, the summer, and fall. But we're always trying to find ways, how do we engage the community in what we're doing during the winter time and educate residents or the general public on how bees overwinter during the winter. So what we did a few years back was we created what's called our Winter Beezar. And it was a great opportunity to invite an ice sculptor down to create a cool concept with some ice, but also involve the community and allow them to see our winter cluster of bees clustered up in their hives with our thermal cameras. They got to learn how bees overwinter, but also enjoy some really nice coffee and hot chocolate using our local raw honey.
And some baked goods. So
yeah,
we know you're trying to educate and interact with them all year round.
All year round. So we talked about social. Let's talk about how we're working to create environmental impact. What we're doing is being able to take blighted vacant lots and transform these vacant lots where they're aesthetically pleasing for the people in the community, and while they also support pollinators. Here at one of our vacant lots, we see what's pictured is a swallowtail butterfly visiting a milkweed blossom. This is our Brightmore pollinator habitat. This particular piece of land was donated to our organization back in 2019. And during the pandemic in 2020, we built this entire site with the help of community residents, and it took us 1 month from September to October to what you see right here pictured. Every single perennial was a plug or a seedling that was able to blossom. And they're about, this garden is busting and booming now. We have things around 6 or 7 feet tall now, but we have everything planted from, it's a 4 seasons garden. So we have everything planted from common yarrow that attracts a lot of the pollinators like flies and different type of wasps and other native bees, to echinaceas, to black-eyed Susans, to rough blazing star, to different types of milkweeds, from common milkweed, swamp milkweed, Cinderella milkweed. We have salvia, we have asters, we have different type of perennial grasses,
common
yarrow, and there's a few other I'm probably missing out. Oh, can't forget the bee balm. And what's great about this site is that it's not just a pollinator habitat, it's a certified Monarch Way Station through Monarch Watch, but it has a certification as a bee-friendly farm site through Pollinator Partnership as well. Behind this beautiful 4 seasons garden, we have a rainwater catchment system in which we do collect rainwater to hydrate our plants, but also our pollinators. Sometimes we don't get enough water from the rain to collect to hydrate our plants or our pollinators. We have formed a community partnership with our local fire engine station, and they keep and maintain those water totes completely filled throughout the whole summer so that we have enough water to hydrate our vegetation, our plants, and our pollinators. Now, behind those 2 rain stations, I'm not sure if you're able to see it, but there's 2 honeybee hives here at site. So again, we work to create an ecological balance between our native bees, also our honeybees, where we don't place or introduce too many honeybees in one section, because those honeybees can compete against those same honeybees and robbing them from resources. But one thing we notice that with this particular site is that our honeybees do not compete with the native bees. This area is dominated by the native bees and visiting pollinators. We see so many different types of hummingbirds, hummingbird moths, different types of wasps,
monarchs,
and different pollinators. But our honeybees do not really dominate this site. It's really dominated by our native bees and other visiting pollinators, but not our honeybees. Our honeybees are going out to the other areas because this particular community, the Brightmoor community, is considered to be a pollinator corridor. So you have very similar projects that are starting gardens, flower gardens that can support our visiting honeybees as well.
Also, in the fall, we leave our leaves. Also, we don't cut this garden all down. During the winter time, we make sure we leave those stems so the native insects can have somewhere to house and stay during the winter time.
So again, now all of our sites serve as apiaries where we keep and house honeybees. Some we provide an option of a little bit of both, where there are pollinator habitats paired with honeybee hives, and then some are just pollinator habitats, they're gardens, and then again, some are just areas that support native bees with shelter as well. Here are additional photos of our Brightmoor pollinator habitat where we have pictured, of course, echinaceas, and then you also see a little bit of the bee balm down at the bottom, but also we leave out a water source where our bees can land safely and drink water. So let's talk about this project here. Detroit has been dubbed the Motor City for over 100 years. We've been known to put the world on wheels. Recently, we've been fortunate to work with the University of Michigan, the School of Michigan of Public Policy, along with Detroit City Council, on making Detroit a bee city. With our efforts on making Detroit a bee city and Detroit being dubbed already the Motor City, we want to find a way, how do we cross-pollinate or marry these two efforts together? And in doing so, we created what's called the Motor City Garden. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing this particular garden, we took a 1981 Oldsmobile Cutlass and we worked with Team GM Cares to work with their team of engineers to remove all the internal parts of this car, including the engine, all the hazardous materials, and even the headlights, to create a garden for this car. So inside the headlights, or inside the grill, we created a native bee housing. And inside of the hood there, we inserted a bedding or flooring to support the weight of the soil. And we were able to plant many various different types of perennials and annuals to support our native bees, because to be compliant with a bee city, it supports the native bees in your area, not really focused on honeybees. So as we begin to support our pollinators, we want to make sure that we create that ecological balance. So in this picture, you can see Nicole planting a lot of the different type of perennials and annuals inside the hood and rear of this car.
Yep, and also you can see those cool native bees painted on the car. We partnered with two artists who are part of the project, and they painted those native bees on there for us.
So again, the native bees were painted. You do see a couple sweat bees. We see some honeybees and a few bumblebees. And this is a great way to educate youth through art. Also, is a great way to create some projects that are not your typical type of garden sites, but also a way we can engage those people that may be into cars, maybe into different types of art, to our world of beekeeping.
Also, which is not pictured here, we also have a garden inside the trunk too.
Yeah. And again, we work to make sure that our sites are certified through the Monarch Way Station, so that they're certified habitats to support our monarch butterflies and visiting pollinators. Now that we shared on how we create a social, but also environmental impact, let's talk about how through bees we're working to create a financial impact. Do tours. So we partner with companies like Airbnb, Detroit Experience Factory, and other visiting organizations to host tours at our garden sites. In doing so, we hosted well over 1,000 tours. No one has ever been stung at our tours. No one has ever had any issues with pollinators at our tours. We're very careful with our guests, and we work with people all ages from 3 years old all the way up to 80 years old to be able to get involved with the students, if not even older, to get involved with the beekeeping and learn about how bees are really making a great impact in our community. Alongside from tours, we also have a byproduct, which is our local raw honey. We have a contract with our pollinators, our honeybees, whereby we reserve at least 80 to 100 pounds of honey for those honeybees to make it over the winter in each hive. Anything over that in their surplus, we do sell to local markets, to farmer markets, and to retail stores. We sell our product in over 9 retail stores, and we sell our 8-ounce honey for $20, and it goes right back into our mission.
Yep, so this is just one of the stores where we're at. This is a local Myers here in Michigan. This is the Woodward Corner Myers.
Yep, and we believe honey is extremely undervalued. Honey is not just a sweetener. It's a superfood. It's medicine. It's a natural Band-Aid. We look at honey as a Swiss Army knife that can unfold many useful tools. So we feel that honey is extremely undervalued. We sell our honey as a premium, but it also works to support our mission here at Detroit Hives. Outside of our honey sales, we sell really cool merchandise, whether it's our Detroit is a place to be, our cool fancy slogans, work hard, stay bumble, all of which goes right back into our mission to support what we're doing here in the city of Detroit. Alongside from honey sales, merchandise, and tours, we also do speaking presentations. We were fortunate to speak at the Forbes Ag Tech in 2019 and visit other opportunities with Forbes Ag Tech, Forbes 40 Under 40, along with Southwest by Detroit, and many other national and international conferences as well. And as well, we spoke and we were fortunate to speak at the American Beekeeping Federation back in 2021. 2021, I believe.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about our programs and projects. Be the Change. So Be the Change is our educational program, and it was founded in 2017. And since then, we have exposed and educated over 2,000 local students to bee conservation. In doing this, we provide hands-on learning experience for you to appreciate all living things, not just bees, not just different things like pets as well, but all living things, and to embrace the beauty of nature. We host in-person and virtual hive tours and educational workshops. And in partnership with the Skillman Foundation, we were fortunate to work with 6 students at Mumford High School, my alma mater, to reimagine vacant landscape in their community, in addition to creating a design plan to support people and pollinators. Here are just a few photos of us engaging with community residents, but also visiting schools and tours and different type of events, especially with Girl Scouts, readathons, and then also visiting classroom settings as well. Here's another photo with our Be the Change, where we were fortunate to work with the 6 students, not only to educate them and inspire them on pollinator conservation, but also to be able to provide a financial impact and awarding them with $1,200 to support their efforts in school and their scholarship initiative as well.
This is us working with another group of young students who got a chance to suit up with us and go inside the hive.
Yeah. So just another picture of our Be the Change program, of us really working with these students, not just in a classroom setting with the 4 walls, but creating outdoor learning experiences where children really get to get hands-on with pollinators. It's one thing to learn about bees in a classroom setting from a book, and it's a totally different experience seeing bees up close, getting hands-on, seeing their faces, seeing them get really excited, and sometimes, in most cases, overcoming a lot of their fears.
Yep.
With girls.
Yeah, especially with young girls. I tend to notice that they are terrified of insects. I mean, just like I was. So helping them get over their fears and calming them down. The one thing that I say to them is that, you know, all of the worker bees are female. So that kind of helps them kind of ease them into wanting to work more so with the bees.
Yeah. And little girl empowerment.
Yeah.
So outside of that, we've been also able and fortunate to partner with Hives KC in building Missouri Hives. Our work, we've been able to inspire many people to take on similar missions. And there was an issue where residents in Missouri had a lot of vacant land, and they were having issues with flooding, and also an issue with blight and vacant lots in their community. There was a representative by the name of Dr. Pearson who contacted us and said, hey, we have a similar issue in our community. We want to take this model and bring it to Kansas City, Missouri, and do a similar model there. And in doing so, they've been able to form Missouri Hives, or as Hives KC, and taking vacant lots and turn them into bee farms. Here's a photo here where they're doing great work in Kansas City, Missouri, where they're educating community residents on pollinators. They're taking vacant lots and they're creating educational apiaries for the next generation. And what this did was allow us to create a national impact on working with people to take on similar missions. And this inspired us to create National Urban Beekeeping Day, a day that we're celebrating today, a day that we're educating the general public on the importance of not only pollinators, but also on urban beekeeping. You know, we created this day because during May, you have World Bee Day, which is May 20th. During the whole entire month of June, many celebrate National Pollinator Week, or it's now evolving. It's now evolving to be National Pollinator Month. But also, you have in August World Honeybee Day. You have National Honey Month in September. There's nothing for the whole entire month of July to celebrate beekeepers or pollinators, and we figured this is a very crucial month because at this time, most beekeepers really need to be into their hives, inspecting their hives for pests and diseases, or managing their mite levels. So this is a really pivotal moment where it's really important not only for beekeepers to be really managing their hives, but also we need to keep that constant reminder of why pollinators are so important, especially within an urban setting. So back in 2021, we were fortunate to work with 10 state representatives, and this effort was led by Representative Jewel Jones, and through his work, they were able to introduce and pass House Resolution 141 on recognizing recognizing Michigan as Urban Beekeeping Day. This was a huge milestone for us to be able to have this policy behind us, but to be able to place this in stone for the next generation, but also pass the torch and allowing other people to know why bees and pollinators and our work as urban beekeeping is really important.
Yeah, and have the state of Michigan recognize the work that we're doing and celebrating urban beekeeping.
So with all this work that we've been able to do, we don't really like to even call it work. It's really fun. We're really passionate about what we do, and we love having fun. I'm not sure if you guys can tell, but we really are having a good time. So while we're having all this party time that we're doing in these hives and working with community, it allowed us to leverage some partners and sponsors. And in doing so, we've been able to partner with many different type of organizations and universities and businesses like Slow's Barbecue, like Wayne State University, like Airbnb, Whole Kids Foundation, the Honeybee Conservancy, Gleaners, Wayne Metro, DoorDash, goes on. And through this partners and sponsors, it allowed us to be able to fund our projects and exist in the many locations and continue our mission for over 7 years now. And just want to highlight just a few of our accomplishments. You know, this particular slide needs to be updated. We now exist in over 27 locations, but we're still managing between 54 honeybee colonies here in the city of Detroit and Southeast Michigan. We expanded nationally with Hives KC in Kansas City, Missouri, which allowed us to create National Urban Beekeeping Day. We partnered again with the Gerald R. Ford School of Public Policy and Detroit City Council to pass a resolution on recognizing Detroit as a bee city. And we educated over 3,000 local students on pollinator conservation through our Bee to Change program. Let's talk about what's next with Detroit Hives, our projects and our future goals. So introducing the State Fair and Hoover Pollinator Parkway. Currently, we own a parking lot, a vacant parking lot that just sits under an acre of space. And we're working with many community funders, community stakeholders, and also individual donors to transform this blighted vacant parking lot into what's called a centralized hub to benefit both people and pollinators within the Osborne community. Inside this parking lot will now serve as a green parking lot where it will be equipped with the educational shipping container, a botanical garden, EV charging stations, and a large activity space that can support events like food truck rallies, yoga events, fitness activities, and also green initiatives as well. Another project that's really cool that we're super excited is that last year, actually a year from today, we were fortunate to acquire Eminem's childhood site. The very famous rapper from 8 Mile. His childhood site is now owned by Detroit Hives. And on his childhood site, you know, they tore down the home, so it sits only as a vacant lot. Over a year, we've been able to transform this site into a pollinator habitat. And at this pollinator habitat, we have various wildflowers, milkweeds, and also different type of perennials to attract native bees and pollinators at this site. Just recently, this week, we rescued a swarm that wasn't too far outside Detroit, and we introduced this particular honeybee hive at this pollinator habitat site. So at this new proposed Dresden Botanical Garden, formerly known as Eminem's childhood site, is now a botanical garden paired with honeybee hives. At this time, we'd like to conclude our presentation, and we'd love to open the floor with any questions at this time.
Thank you so much, Timothy and Nicole. You know, I just can't get enough. I know that you're just showing us two like snapshots of things, and there's so much more too, the things you're working on. And it's it really is super inspiring and amazing. And you got a lot of props in the chat. I think some of them too just came to the hosts and panelists, like, love it. It sounds like a great idea, Detroit. Oh my goddess, you two rock. And so there's a lot of cool comments here. And there is a question in the chat, so I will ask that, and then folks are more than welcome to put in more questions, and I have a couple questions of my own too. But this one it doesn't say who it's from, but it says, has there been any concern about having hives accessible by the public and possibly stolen or vandalized? That would be their concern there for where they're from in Stockton, California.
Very great question. You know, when we originally was presenting this idea to the city of Detroit, they had a lot of concerns with bees harming residents or visiting restaurants and causing issues with customers. So they wasn't really too happy about the project, but we were able to go ahead and do it anyway. We said yes to the universe and brought this project to the city of Detroit. And out of us bringing this project to the city of Detroit, the city of Detroit awarded us with a Spirit of Detroit Award. So we received a Spirit of Detroit Award from our work and doing this for over 7 years. No one has ever been stung in our community. We had never had any issues with bees or pollinators in our communities. And this set a standard, a new standard for urban beekeeping in the city of Detroit, that bees can thrive and flourish in urban settings. And we don't have to have these misconceptions or fears or these issues in our community. So it set a new standard. In doing so, we've been also able to introduce honeybee hives at public schools. So being able to introduce these hives at public schools and universities like Wayne State University has created a new standard for other people to accept the idea of urban beekeeping. So
yeah, but it all starts with education. So educating the community, engaging them with the project, especially as we're doing cleanups at the sites and planting and things like that, that gives us opportunity to connect with those in the neighborhood as well.
Yeah, because most people, their idea of bees really begin with wasps. So when we educate them on wasps and yellow jackets, that fear in most cases transforms into love. Also, in most cases, we sweeten the deal with honey. So a lot of our projects involve providing honey to local residents that allows them to also bring their children to these projects. So we're taking vacant lots that are vacant. Their children are able to go up and down these sidewalks, knowing that these projects are being activated and that they're turning educational opportunities that are local, hyper local. You don't have to go to a YMCA or a youth recreation program that may be an hour away from their community. they can learn about pollinators right within their own neighborhood. It's safe, and we have partners and universities that back us up on that as well.
Yeah. Oh, and also
Great.
number one, they're excited to see the beautification portion of it. So we're able to clean up those spaces and activate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then lastly, as far as vandalism, in most cases, people don't even know that they're there.
Yeah.
Bees are pretty quiet.
Mhm.
Most of the beehives look like dresser drawers or like a dresser. So most people don't really know what it is until we tell them there's, when they're visiting that they're beehives. But a lot of times when we engage with the community, we host listening sessions, we get their input, and we allow them to ask all those questions before we begin to create a project like that in the community.
And also the neighbors are also on the lookout too,
Yeah.
to make sure that nobody is harming the bees as well.
That's a good neighborhood watch program.
Yeah. We need
Yeah,
them.
no, that's great. And that kind of leads to the next question. And then we'll go to Dewey and then Ron after. But there's one here from Eric in the chat or in the Q&A that says, do you have a mentoring program? And you touched upon it briefly. For youth interested in learning beekeeping and managing hives, is mentoring youth a part of your mission?
Well, I would say more so we educate the next generation on the importance of pollinators, why pollinators are important to our food systems and how they really impact the urban landscape. We give them more so an introduction to beekeeping, but we don't really equip them to be full-fledged beekeepers. We just provide that first interaction, that first experience. But we do have partners with associations whereby they want to take more in-depth classes that provide certifications. We send them to our partners and we allow those partners provide those classes that has more of a more robust program that can do more of a programming project for them.
Extended programming.
Extended, I'm sorry.
Mm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Dewey, you're up.
Hi, Timothy. Hi, Nicole. Good to see you this
How's it going,
evening.
Dewey?
Hey, how you
Very good.
doing?
You were saying that apparently you find a property or a property is brought to you, and then you engage the community. Have you done it the other way, where a community would come to you and ask that you get engaged in that particular community? Does it work both ways?
It really does. So, for example, this year there was a community garden that reached out to us called Griffin Gardens. They have a community garden, it's ran by the community, and they have tons of vegetation growing in this garden. They have tons of native flowers that are attracting tons of native bees, but they were really interested in hosting honeybee hives because of their experience of going inside the hive, but also just some more pollinators that are going into this neighborhood. So they contacted us and they wanted to introduce a honeybee hive there. So we were able to sponsor a hive to support their initiative as well. So we do partner with others like Wayne State University that contacts us and other schools. So we're always looking for ways to collaborate and partner with others.
Yeah. So community gardens and things like people reach out to us a lot to engage with them or post our hives there.
Yeah.
Do you have a program to finance beehives if that site is appropriate? Is there funding for that?
Yeah, so a little bit of both. We have funders that fund us annually to support that initiative of expanding our hives. So we do receive funding to expand hives throughout the city. So with that money, we're able to sponsor hives. And that's how we sponsor hives at Mumford High School or at universities, or in this case, community gardens as well. But in addition to that, we do have a sponsor hive program where community residents or local business can sponsor hives additionally, along with what we're able to be funded by as well.
Thank you. You guys rock.
Thank you.
Awesome. Ron, you're up.
Yeah, thank you. And yes, you do rock. This was an incredible project. Really glad to see that you're doing it and the success that you're generating is just fantastic. I have a couple of things I want to mention or ask, and one of them is that I really, 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 really appreciate that you have mentioned native bees and that they are a large part of what you're doing. You know, there is the possibility of our beekeeping, and I'm a beekeeper myself, having an effect on native bees. So to know that you're cognizant of that, it's just fantastic, and that you're using the bees themselves, it looks like, as a stepping stone for people to get intimate with pollinators and then learn that there are different, as you said, 467 type
Four
Yes,
sixty
it's
seven.
out here in
in
Michigan.
Michigan. So how did you become aware of that? Because so few people are.
Yeah, so honeybees is like our gateway bug.
Yeah.
As we began to learn more about honeybees, that allowed us to learn more about roly-polies, different type of birds, pheasants, other pollinators like mosquitoes or ants, things like that. So as you begin to dive in, it's really you get to learn about all the different type of bees, like the invasive kind, like the wool carder bee, other different type of insects, and you just dive in. So originally we learned that there were 450 native bee species, but recently, thanks to Michigan State University, they conducted a bee census in 2019 where they updated and discovered that there are over 467 native bee species. We're also really passionate about education. So outside of learning about or taking beekeeping courses, we're also pollinator champions. We receive our certification through Michigan State University Extension, and we're always learning about native perennials, wildflowers, native bees, just to be able to learn a little bit more so that our depth of knowledge and education is a little bit more extended.
Yeah, and we just found a great appreciation for all things in nature. So we want to make sure that we're respecting and leaving spaces for them as well.
Yeah.
So
Well,
if
it
people are
shines. Yeah,
Yeah.
it shines in everything you're doing. It's really,
Oh, thank you.
really nice
and
to
people
see.
are fascinated about our pollinator habitats and how our honeybees are not like dominating that area, and how the native bees are like just taking over it. So yeah, and I let people know, hey, if you're looking for our native bees, make sure that you plant more flowers like these.
Plant something native.
And if you
Yes.
plant it, they will come. But also taking the time to actually look at the flowers, breathe in the flowers, you'll see those native bees out there. You have more appreciation for all things in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really appreciated. A lot of beekeepers don't even realize that it's the native bees that do most of the pollinating in a backyard garden. Honeybees tend to fly a few kilometers away to huge fields and patches, and they don't want to work one or two different kinds of flowers in your own garden. I have another question. It's more of a business type question, but I am curious, and I'm hoping that you had help on this. You mentioned purchasing vacant properties for as little as $100 or $3,000 in the case of M&M's childhood home site. Are you getting tax breaks from the city? Because here, a lot of lots are sold with the intention that you'll pay $1,000 a year in property taxes. And I'm sure hoping that that's not the case for your organization.
Yeah, so there's still taxes, but there's not really a whole lot of taxes on it. We do have some tax exemptions by it being that we're 501c3, but there's still some small taxes on a lot of our properties, no more than really like $80 a year.
Okay, that sounds manageable. That's and I guess that's fair. And my last thing I want to ask you is how can we help? You've got a website. If I personally wanted to send a couple $100 to you guys, would that be accepted? And is that something that we can do?
Yes, absolutely. Please feel free to join our hive. Our website is detroithives.org. Our social media handles is Detroit Hives. When you go on the website, you can definitely donate. We'll definitely put that right back into our sites and our mission to continue it. So we definitely appreciate that. So it's detroithives.org.
Yep. And I think thanks to Melanie, she placed it in the chat there.
Oh, yeah.
So yes, we appreciate donations. We are a nonprofit, and we are sustained through donations, also through volunteers and in-kind donations. If there's someone out there that has access to use equipment, hive boxes, any type of beekeeping equipment, we would love to use that as well. We're also looking for
emotional currency.
Yeah.
Please feel free to share our posts or share information about the work that we're doing.
Yeah. And then also volunteers. Is anyone out there local or maybe know someone's local that's a master gardener? We're really good at going to the hives, but we're not the best with green thumb. So we're always looking for volunteers, because this year we're working on 5 new sites. 5. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And a lot of them are going to be complete around late October. That's a good month where we don't have to worry about too much of the watering plan. A lot of the plants will be able to be more established around that time as well.
Awesome.
Congratulations. It's awesome. Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thanks,
much.
Ron. He had a slew of questions, and I liked actually how Ron said he really, 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 really wanted to thank you for including the native pollinators. And I think that yeah, you're right. They are a gateway bug, you know, and honeybees tend to be sometimes I describe them too as like the exploited poster child of pollinators, you know, but they do open up this larger world, and they also help people start thinking about habitat, because it's
Yes.
from the ground
Yeah.
up, from the soil up. But speaking about sites, you have 5 new sites this year, but I know that you're managing more than that. How many sites total? That was my
Yeah.
question. How many
So
places?
27.
Yeah.
Not all the
27.
sites, yeah. So not all the sites that we're at, we have our vacant lots. Some
Okay.
sites include universities, like partnering with universities, community organizations, and also community gardens as well.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's a lot of spots. And I know you two
Yeah.
are the, you know, backbone of that whole
Yeah.
organization.
Yeah.
And you've got volunteers helping you, and
Yeah,
hopefully a
we
good
can't do it
staff.
all by ourselves. You know,
Yeah.
we're very creative. We spend a lot of work and a lot of the creative work as well.
Mhm.
But we do have volunteers as it relates to beekeeping. That's the whole point of partnering with or becoming members of associations, is to have access to some volunteers or some part-time staff as well.
Awesome. Well, and I spotted a question in the chat. Let's see here, or it was in maybe sent to hosts and panelists. This is from Alex Duran. What were the biggest obstacles during this journey?
Biggest obstacle?
For obstacles, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't all, you know, a walk in the park. I'm sure there was,
Wasn't a walk in
you
the
know,
park.
Wasn't a walk in the park.
and also, and I was gonna say, you didn't touch upon this, but I can share at least 2 bits about your all's background. I mean, when you all decided to do this, you did your homework. You went and took classes. You joined the Michigan Beekeepers. Like, you didn't just go, you know, oh, we're gonna set up hives and roll with it. Like
Yeah.
they did
no.
some work to get to
Yeah.
that point. Because you're
Yeah. We
exactly
really wanted to
right.
learn our stuff. Yeah, we didn't
you
want to
don't
get no
wanna
highs and be all stung, and
Right.
you know,
Right.
we want to be
It
careful.
was like, okay,
But
what do I do
also,
now?
we didn't want to put out this project in the city of Detroit and something go terribly wrong. And then, you know, something happens, and then this makes a bad look for someone else that want to take on a similar project. So we wanted this to be done carefully. We want to show that this could be done in a city like Detroit. So we were very careful about this project. So we want to know exactly what we're doing and having, you know, the expertise. But as far as challenges, you know, challenges come, but I think the passion allows us to get through them.
Yeah.
Starting out with Detroit Hives, of course there are challenges,
Yeah.
but I don't think there's nothing that stopped us.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then, I mean, when we first started, of course, people were looking at us like sideways and crazy and thought
Yeah.
that no way y'all about to be doing bees or,
Yeah.
you know, so get that first obstacle and providing the education was one. that
Yeah,
can
I think
of.
definitely in the beginning, learning how to manage our hives as a beekeeper, those are definitely the challenges. Like sometimes we forget to mention those.
Mhm.
But you know, of course, we want our bees to survive over the winter. We were hanging on. It was like around March or April, and we
Yeah.
only had 2 hives our first year. And then a beekeeper said, "All your bees gonna die. They're gonna die. You're gonna get over it and buy some more bees." We said, "No, our bees gonna make it over," because we had this philosophy of not treating our bees. We wanted our bees to be
Yeah, the
treatment
first
free.
year.
But you know, you had to do some type of treatment, some type of
Right.
natural treatment,
Mhm.
some type of pest management solution. And we didn't go with that, you know. So our bees did not make it. And we were really saddened about that.
Devastated.
So, you know, as we began to learn, you still had to treat. You had to
Yeah.
find some way to treat and manage those mites, whether it's through brood, splitting the brood, or
Brood break.
I'm sorry, doing a brood break, or definitely managing and testing for mice and treating, not just in the late fall, not just during the fall, during the summer, but all during the spring, summer, and fall as well.
Mhm.
And finding ways to really mitigate those mites, allowing your bees to sometimes swarm as well. It's a good way you can break that brood cycle as well. So I think being able to grow from having our bees overwinter and survive overwintering is definitely been one of the challenges we've been able to overcome.
Mhm.
Outside of that, it's getting around climate change. Unfortunately, that's a new challenge to us, where we have weather that's inconsistent. We have a lot of warm winters and a lot of cold summers. So that's a challenge right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I don't want to make you guys stay up later, but there's 2 more questions, and hopefully they're
Okay.
relatively quickish, and then we'll take a
No
little
problem.
break. But I
We love to
know,
talk.
we'll have to bring you back again too. So this one's from Eric. What did you have to do from a liability standpoint? And then the question from David is, have you ever reached out to a high school wood shop to help you build hives? So one about liability, and then getting high
Yeah.
schoolers to help.
As far as liability, we have insurance that covers all of that, from bee stings to potential injuries. So we have an insurance policy that covers all those issues. In regards to working with a wood shop, we have not worked with a local carpenter. We have had volunteers, not a school, but we have had volunteers to construct or build hives for us, which has been really cool. And we had some companies donate beehives, but not a wood shop or a local school, no.
And those Boy Scouts constructed that native bee home too, all by themselves. I'm not sure if there's too many Detroit public schools that still do wood shop classes. So
yeah, I'm not too sure.
We will have to look into that. I don't know. I'm not sure if they still do that.
There may be some vocational schools that offer C and G or some type of CAD programming.
Yeah,
that's another
idea. Thank you.
Is getting students and all ages to really become more productive again. Those are dying arts. Everybody knows how to click and clack on the keyboard, but people know how to make and build and fix and do all that cool stuff. So well, thank you so much. And I have just one more quick question, because I know you can't just be running everything out of your car. I would hope not. Do you have a big or an office, or where are you keeping all your gear? And
we have storages upon storages upon storages. Unfortunately, we don't have a headquarters or office. Our office right now is the apiary. It's outdoors. That's where our office is. But we're fortunate to receive some funding to hopefully help us with a phase 1 of maybe revitalizing an abandoned home to serve as our office.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. I want to come visit you all.
Please do.
Please do.
We'll have to do that soon enough. And please know, you're welcome out west too.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Got all these beekeepers now that know about you out here in the West, and so
it's awesome. Feels good.
Thank you for staying up late and visiting with us, and thanks for finding, how do we say the past tense, for being the founders of National Urban Beekeeping Day. That's just super amazing. That's today, and a lot of our members are actually urban and backyard beekeepers too.
Oh, awesome.
I was really excited that I when I reached out, I was like, oh, they're not going to be available, they're going to be so busy, but they piped right back up, and I just really appreciate that. And really wishing you all continued success. You really are true inspiration. So thank you so much.
You all inspire us too, for setting the platform and doing the work. Has been able to make it easy for us to follow you guys' footsteps as well.
Well, it does indeed take a community to raise bees, right? Big hives across the country. Well, awesome. Well, thank you all. And what we'll do right now is we'll do a little 5-minute bio break, if that's okay for folks who, and you're welcome to stay on with us too if you all want to hear about the conference. But for those who are attendees, if you want to take a little 5-minute bio break, and we'll come back, and then we'll hear from Ron and Etienne and their team, who's been working really hard behind the scenes to get this conference ready. So thanks, everybody.